Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a video and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Today, I'm privileged to welcome not just a very senior finance professional, but a very accomplished Bharatnatyam exponent, Swati Bishwas. Swati, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh. Such kind words from
Thank
you.
you. Swati is a finance professional as a chartered accountant for 2 decades and a global Bharatnatyam exponent. She's a finance leader and as head of finance across multiple industries for several businesses, including the Hay Group in India, now Conferry, Johnson & Johnson Medical Equipments, Vodafone India, and has also headed finance and supply chain Middle East and India market for leisure business in the Landmark Group. She's currently the Senior Director of Finance with Flipkart. As a Bharatnatyam exponent, she has been performing all around the world from a young age, spreading the aura of storytelling through the beautiful art form. So, Swati, tell me, what would you say are 3 key milestones in your career or your life?
Sure. I'm so glad, Ashutosh. The thing is that when people ask, tell me one milestone, it becomes very difficult because such a big, lifelong thing. You have taken decisions. Yes. I will break the milestone into 3. Since this is more like a journey, when you get into the milestones and the bigger milestones, I'll break it into 3. For my profession, I think the milestone started very early. In grade 8, I kind of decided, influenced by all the Business Week and all the business world coming at home, that I have to be a chartered accountant. And foremost was I have to get in Shriram College of Commerce. That was the grade 8 decision, which was supported by my mother. Like, if you want to do it, but do it with a true heart. Okay. I think in that same regime, the one which, so as a professional, it is the getting into, after being a qualified chartered accountant 2 decades back, when I got into GlaxoSmithKline. It's a wonderful management trainee program. Correct. I'm so proud to be a part because it becomes your inherent nature that business comes first, customer comes first, and what you are doing as a finance leader is setting an ecosystem around it, while ensuring that with the governance and the bottom line improvement keeps on happening. So that is amazing learning, and the fact that getting into Shriram College gave me that kind of a pedigree and foundation, which actually got fructified a year back when from Shri Arun Jaitley ji, late Shri Arun Jaitley ji, I got the privilege, he's an alumnus. I got the privilege of being distinguished alumni for both the categories CFO and art. Wonderful. So this is the one. The second one actually is the very different line that I am in as a milestone. Right. I started the dance form at 4. Age of 4, along with studies. So going to international boundaries at a very early age. So when you actually meet multicultural, multifaceted people out of the boundaries of your own country, and realize that how much they respect your culture and the diversity within your culture, that really ignited the passion that I have to pursue it. And I was privileged that back almost like 10 years back, in the Northern Illinois University in Chicago, amongst the best of the scholars, and that is the biggest milestone I would say in this field. I was being called to do a rendition and a workshop covering anything that revolves around emotions. And that really opened the mind, and I got inclined towards workshops and mentoring and all, and it was a beautiful, and they were like scholars. When parallelly this was happening, the most milestone is, born to the mother I'm born to, Hina Biswas. She has been the strongest woman I know, multifaceted. She has done psychology, she plays guitar, sitar, she has been doing sports, and that is what she has nurtured in me. That if you wish, you can do anything you want. And having an elder brother, Arindam, he was actually personifying inclusion and diversity. Right from early age, you can do it, be with people who are like-minded, and there will be so many boys and guys where in this journey I see and look back, it has become such a seamless. I don't feel odd one out. I don't have to make extra effort to be the one to make the differentiator when you are a little diverse from the group which is there. And going for things like trekking, professional trekking. I have no background, but he pushed. He said, "You can do it." try the boundaries which are there.
Mm.
And marrying to my husband Mohan is something huge support pillar. I can fall back any time when I think that it is needed. He's the one of the best human beings, and I'm becoming a better human through that. And of course, my son Pradyumna, 8-year-old, when he came to my life, I learned how to do dynamic prioritization.
Fantastic.
It is amazing to
Fantastic.
learn dynamic prioritization.
Fantastic.
So that is the milestone, 3 buckets, but
Very
defines everything was going parallel.
Very, very nice. So let's now talk about your, we'll talk about 2 things in our conversation today. One is you as a finance guru and a senior finance leader, and the second is Bharatnatyam. So let's talk about your journey as a finance person. Over the years, how have you seen the role of the CFO evolve in large companies?
Again, a very lovely question. I mean, I got the opportunity as soon as that millennium changed and I got into this profession.
Right.
I saw that there are so many, there were 2 school of thoughts, genre of thoughts, and that was at the transition time. There was this classical CFO who will be looking at the bottom line, the cost rationalization, detaching themselves from the business and taking decisions, prompting people to, get into the black or white of what will give more bottom line. And the transition was, as I said, the foundation was GlaxoSmithKline, which was very prominent to me and got very nicely insynced in me that, as a finance leader, as a CFO, the first thing is, how do you grow the business? And it is not defined between a top line, bottom line, no lines. It is how do you grow the business? Yeah. So, I saw those times and I actually kind of inculcated my style is also that you have to be collaborative with multi-functions to understand what is going on in the business. You have to understand the customer first, because that is what is going to bring you the money to expand, to sustain, to give back to shareholders. So understanding the customers is very important for a CFO. And then taking the decisions within that parameter. So you have to have the governance, you have to have the technical know-how, you have to constantly bring rigor to improve the bottom line. But these all investment decision, every decision, pricing decision, whatever decision you are taking has to evolve around the customer and how you grow the business. So I think that transition started back then, but still, even after 10, 15 years, I can see the transition is still on. It is not that, so, it doesn't come naturally to people.
Correct. So, in the late, early 80s, 90s, the finance head of a company, certainly in British companies, it was important to call them the chief accountant, who then grew into the finance director. At some stage, it became the CFO. What, according to you, are some of the key qualities the CFO should have?
I think I said it earlier also. The first key quality, although we believe is the core competency in terms of understanding the accounting standard, technical know-how, ensuring the governance is the foremost, those have now become the foundation rock, the underlying statement. So I will talk more about the things which are absolutely needed. Correct. Must, if you have to make an effort, make an effort. If it comes naturally, nothing better than that. And that is knowing the customer, as I said. Okay. Please go to the ground, understand, go to the market, understand the customer experience, the customer hunger to have their economic reach, to understand their pricing decisions. I mean, which kind of cohort that customer belongs to. Right. What is the value added services do they want? What are the impact of cost rationalization that you think will bring a bottom line impact is going to impact you in long term in terms of customer decision. So that is a very important one. Second one is, as a CFO, you have to collaborate with multiple teams, multiple functions. It is not your own team whom you are collaborating. So while you want to influence someone, you need to have that in-depth knowledge first about it. So engage and have the empathy is very important for a CFO, because we are working with people at the end of the day. Unless you have the right kind of an empathy to understand why those decisions are getting taken, why those things cannot be delivered at a particular time when you think, what you are saying, why that has so much of questioning and challenging, it must be having some merit. So to empathize and constantly engage, because, and that is what I kind of do it as a, written in a holy book, as if I will engage with everybody and anybody across the different functions to understand what are their USPs, what are their P0s, what are their decision criteria. If I see that I can influence it in a better way, how I can, or have my own learning
Very
curve.
nice.
So CFOs need to have these two pillars very strong.
Fantastic. And what you just spoke about is the relationship and understanding of a lot of the functions in the company. But I also now find increasingly that CEOs rely much more on CFOs for strategic thinking.
Absolutely.
What is your thought on this? And why is this happening?
I think there are two different functions where a CEO does and should in a growth. I mean, when you want to grow, when you want to have the right decisions, should look. One is CFO, one is human resource. These two pillars are such big foundations, and I'll stick to the CFO part of it.
Sure.
See, a CFO, a finance leader, has to be the right hand and the sounding board. And when you say that, you have to kind of personify it in every conversation, however difficult it is. I mean, you cannot be a yes boss, yes sir. You cannot be a person who will only show one side of the picture where you want the decision to be driven. It's not. You have to give the multifaceted, the 360 degree in terms of, and you have to come up with scenarios. And that is what CEOs love. CFOs will come up, or the finance leaders will come up scenarios. Okay, fine, this is what we want to do. But if we do this, these are the pros, these are the cons. In the next decision scenario, which is actually imbibed from what your thought process is, but can give these as an outcome. So there will be array of scenarios to choose from. And it becomes so much more easier for CEOs to then brainstorm, to have that, conflict of decision, and then reach unanimous, consensuous decision. So that is what I think is evolving more and more. I have seen it in my previous so many roles. My business CEOs, my CEOs will be engaging every day, and those engagement has to be across the arena of not only decision making, but what kind of a long-term goals we are thinking for the organization, people, because it has to be a discussion on people. What do we want from them? How do we want them to grow? So that is how I see. I mean, it has to be a constant engagement, and it has to be very transparent.
Very, very interesting. So now I'm going to move to your second passion, which is your dance form. Tell me about, you say you started when you were 4 years old and you've been performing all over the world. How does Bharatnatyam support your work as a CFO?
Oh, splendid. I really love to talk about it. I kind of give sometimes creative side mentoring session on this.
Sure.
See, I started with Kathak and I transitioned to Bharatnatyam at 10. So the first thing that it taught me in a way is transition is very easy. I mean, you have to have your foundation right. And then transition, resilience, giving impact by moving, being flexible is very, very, it comes naturally.
Right.
When I started with my guru, with my Acharya, Srimati Jayalakshmi Ishwar, globally renowned author, performer, when I started going with her for thematic performances across the globe, US, Ukraine, all across the Mediterranean belt, and at a very young age it started. The more you travel, it is not cliche, the more you travel, the more you meet people, the more diversified that genre of people are, you start gaining and absorbing so many new things, so many new aspects, so many point of view, so many values and cores. You start distinguishing, this is something I'll never pursue in my life, and this is something I have to stick to. So those started getting ingrained very early. One foremost thing which I learned from this and which helps me on a daily basis is when you are doing a rendition in front of thousands, hundreds of people, you have to first internalize and be the best to be amongst those, because all you want is you are doing something which should make a mark, which should be remembered post you are out of that stage, should bring that change in terms of whether we should also take creativity, whether we should also start getting into this field. All those influencing has to happen. So it really taught me that, in so many stage shows, I mean, I can name so many of them, where you have to have the continuity plan. because there will be a technical glitch, there will be some problem, the venue will suddenly change. You have to be adaptable, you have to be flexible, and you have to make that impact with that full confidence and smile. You cannot be sulking, and you cannot be, I don't know why so many decisions change suddenly. So these things actually get imbibed in a very natural way, in a very, it's a journey, but it gets instilled in you. And that is why I wrote an article in LinkedIn as well, which actually speaks for the young generation, that we should we should encourage our kids to start any creative field at a very young age, because it not only instills leadership skills, it enhances it. If you're natural with it, it will enhance it, but it will always have that ecosystem of improving your leadership skills. Okay. And that is something I gain every day. And I really, when I look back, I think I could have been a little different person or a leader than what it increases empathy to beyond putting in words.
Fantastic. You know, it is so refreshing to talk to you, because in addition to being such a success as a corporate professional, you also have an incredible passion. Tell me, for senior leaders, corporate leaders, especially those who are now getting into, say, the mid-50s, I find a lot of them don't have any passions. They've just worked all their life. How important is it for senior leaders who are now reaching the age of, say, superannuation of 5 years from now, and who have another 30 years after that to live? How important it is to develop passions like you have?
See, I would say one thing, that if you don't want a vacuum suddenly in your life, if you don't want that I'm not really giving an output which is influencing people, which is impacting people, because you have been taking decisions, you have been, talking to multifaceted people and influencing them. If you don't want that vacuum to come, this is the best time to pick up anything creative, anything. It can be a sports also. I mean, it has to be something where you will be continuing to contribute to the larger spectrum of people, to people who will look up to you, people who will see your creativity or your rendition as something which will motivate them. And you will, of course, you will have seen the world, you will have taken so many decisions that will reflect on your creativity as well. So it will be vice versa. Yeah. So I would say definitely, I mean, my husband, he has been playing violin since a very young age, but he kind of stopped it in between before we kind of got married. And then after marriage, one of the main thing I said is, please restart it. It brings the best in a far-fetched way in you. I mean, it brings the balance. I mean, it's such a hectic, stressful, you can't run away from stress when you are in such a high-profile role and high-demanding role. This is something which brings balance. And as I said, this brings empathy in a very different connotation altogether.
Fantastic. So I'm going to now move to the next question, which is a question on gender diversity. You have reached the apex of the organization, and there is a lot of discussions in our country and the world about making sure there is diversity. There is legislation, but the progress is slow. What are your thoughts on how can diversity be and diversity and inclusion? And you said your brother has taught you that. How can this be speeded up in our country?
I think the foremost thought that comes to me is that, as I said, I mean, it starts at home. I mean, we have to understand it is not that suddenly you will plug in and you will get into agenda of being, diversity and inclusion. You have to be, walk the talk, has to be there in a family.
Correct.
And although in the ecosystem, the business leaders, corporate people must be very small in ratio in a society. But if we kind of start inculcating and spreading it, say within our vicinity, within the home, within the house help or the other help which counts, correct, to make them understand the relevance, to give them always speak in a way which gives them a sense of equality, a sense of that I can also do it. I mean, that is the foundation, I would say. I mean, when my brother kind of pushes me, or my husband, he says that, why can't you do it? I mean, what is there not to do it? That really gives an adrenaline rush, that why am I even thinking differently? Of course, I mean, of course, being a mother brings a different kind of responsibility and prioritization, but that also comes much later in the stage. If your foundation is strong, and I'm not talking about the ecosystem of people around you, you yourself being a woman, being anybody who's a little different, I mean, it can be a differently abled people. You have to first believe in yourself while you are speaking with people, while you are engaging with people, while you are showing your whatever you are good in terms of creative profession. You have to have that mind frame, and I'm seeing more and more that is happening. I mean, of course, as I said, MNCs are not the only organization in India. It is like a wide array of.
Absolutely.
But if MNCs, who has really in these 2 decades, the journey is fantastic. I mean, at one point of time, people were thinking that why is it getting pushed to us in terms of diversity? But one has to understand, if you don't understand the relevance of merit-based diversity naturally, or when we are speaking about you, it has to be somewhere instilled. And how it is instilled, that you have to ensure that while you are interviewing for particular roles, you have to ensure the mix is right, because then you can do a fair judgment, merit-based judgment. I saw all that in the organizations. I have to ensure. I ensured it myself, especially in Johnson & Johnson, Vodafone. You have to ensure yourself that you become the ambassador in terms of inclusion and diversity.
Very nice.
And which means you have to go that extra mile. I started engaging with so many women, and also, a little special kind of a genre of people where you speak with them, you come to know there are so many anxiety, so many thoughts in their mind, which they don't come up with. And I would say Flipkart again is a beautiful organization where you kind of endorse inclusion and diversity. And I'm loving the fact that I am in that bandwagon where I am able to spread that, by mentoring, by talking to them, by being an ambassador. So I think this is the right time, and companies are doing that gradual shift. Only the mid-scale, small scale has to bring it up as like MNCs did. Correct. We have to start hiring, and on merit, of course.
Very nice. So, Swati, I'm now going to move to the last segment of our conversation, which is some questions for you personally. And given the time, I think I have time for 2 more questions for you. My first question to you is that for a person who has achieved so much success as a professional, as a dancer, from where you are today, what does success mean to Swati?
Of course, success to me, in a way, is you keep on, kind of shifting those goals, keep achieving them, keep shifting them, so that there will be a long runway of goals that you have achieved will be success.
Okay.
One thing which is very clear to me is that my being a mother is the foremost kind of a, not only responsibility, but the joy that I have to keep at the apex, and everything else have to revolve. And that's why, dynamic prioritization I learned from my son. He's like, I have to plan everything going forward as a goal with his goals of specific timelines in mind. So my success is to ensure that he is a very good citizen and very good creative and talent and all. But the biggest meaning for me of success is what my mother always says. I always say says and present tense. I mean, she went to heavenly abode 2 years back, 3 years back, in fact, and it's she's still there. Honestly, she has mentored me like anything. So what she always used to say is that, success is a responsibility. When you know that what you are doing is actually getting observed, noticed, you are influencing people, and people are actually walking your way. So whether it is a decision making, where business decision making, where you are touching a spectrum of people, society, businesses, whether it is doing a creative rendition where you are influencing people to get into a creative line, or you are making them thought towards, that beautiful piece which they saw, or is it the talk where you are talking while mentoring or workshop. These all things should integrate as only one. That people always think that the decisions, the renditions, the talk that you do, you personify it and you try to make most of it as right decision, right creatives, right talk. Try to always have integrity on the talk when you do these things. Then you are successful.
Fantastic. So I'm not sure but I'm going to ask you a quick short question. And that's going to be that, for someone, your and my conversation will listen to by thousands of people. What would your advice be to a young individual who's starting off on her journey in the corporate world?
I think the first and foremost is that, there will be many hurdles, many challenges. Be resilient. I mean, don't think looking at successful people, looking at your mentors, looking at the people whom you read in newspaper, magazine, TV, don't think that they have got it easy. I mean, I think the most, 99% of everybody whom we kind of idealize have gone through the toughest of the journey, have gone through the toughest of the preparation, have gone through the toughest of the, in terms of having pushback and hurdles. So be that, be resilient. And the second thing I would always say is that corporate is again nothing but about people. So you should know that your empathy, your engaging skills and your communication, right communication with the right people at the right time will take you to a different level of, achievement, because after all, it is all about people and communication is the essence of everything. So keep that strong, work towards it and just focus on your goal.
Thank you. Swati, thank you very much. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you. I've loved the way you have combined your profession and your passion. And I'm sure going forward, you'll continue to make your numbers dance to your tune. So wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh. It's a pleasure. I mean, I'm really happy we had this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.